There is a specific kind of suffering that no one talks about. It has no dramatic arc, no visible wound. It doesn't look like grief or failure or breakdown. It looks like a Tuesday afternoon. It looks like someone sitting quietly, waiting. And the terrifying part is that most people experiencing it don't even know it's happening. They think they're being responsible. They think they're being smart. They think they're just not ready yet. But here is the truth that will either free you or destroy you. You have been sitting in a waiting room your entire life, and the door you're waiting for is never going to open. Think about the last time you told yourself, when I lose the weight, when I get the promotion, when I find the right person, when I have more money, more time, more certainty. When the situation is finally perfect, you said it like it was a reasonable plan, like patience and preparation were virtues. But here's the question that should keep you up tonight. What if when is the most dangerous word in the human language? Most people never examine the story they've quietly told themselves. The story goes like this. My real life is somewhere up ahead. The version of me that is confident, happy, ready, and deserving is coming. It's just around the corner. All I have to do is wait a little longer, prepare a little more, and then, finally, I can begin. It's a beautiful story. It is also a prison sentence you wrote for yourself. Psychologists have a name for the gap between where you are and where you believe life actually begins. They call it the arrival fallacy, the delusion that some future destination holds the version of your life that is finally worth living. But here's what the research actually shows. When people reach those destinations, the feeling doesn't come. Or it comes for a moment briefly, like a match struck in the dark, and then it's gone. And immediately, the mind starts pointing at the next horizon. Another waiting room. A slightly nicer one, with better magazines, but still a waiting room. Now stop for a second, because I need you to really hear what I'm about to say. This is not a motivational speech. This is not going to end with me telling you to follow your dreams. What I'm describing is something far more disturbing. It is the quiet mechanism by which most human lives are entirely consumed without ever truly being lived. Here is what the waiting room actually is. It's not laziness. It's not stupidity. It's fear wearing the mask of wisdom. The waiting room is what happens when a person is too terrified to actually show up for their own life, but also too intelligent to admit that. So instead, they construct an elaborate system of preconditions, conditions that must be met before they are allowed to begin. And those conditions shift. They always shift. Because the point was never the conditions. The point was to never have to begin. And here is the part that should genuinely disturb you. The waiting room doesn't feel like suffering. It feels like safety. That's its design. It gives you the sensation of moving, of planning, of being almost there, while ensuring you never actually arrive anywhere. It is a psychological trap engineered by the most sophisticated survival system ever created, your own mind, specifically to protect you from the risk of being truly alive. But protected from what exactly? From failure, yes. From rejection. From trying and discovering that maybe you're not as exceptional as you hoped. From the unbearable ways of being fully present in a life that is uncertain and finite and genuinely yours. The waiting room removes the risk. It also removes everything that makes a life worth having. There's a study you need to know about. Bronnie Ware, a palliative care nurse, spent years working with people in the final weeks of their lives. She documented their regrets. And the number one regret, not just common, but overwhelmingly dominant, was this. I wish I had lived a life true to myself, not the life others expected of me. Not, I wish I had worked harder. Not, I wish I had been more careful. They didn't regret the risks they took. They regretted the life they kept deferring. They regretted the waiting room, and they only recognized it when the waiting was over. So let me ask you something cold and specific. What are you waiting for right now? Name it. Not abstractly. Name the actual condition, because I guarantee one of two things is true. Either that condition, if met, will produce what you think it will, or, more terrifyingly, you're not actually working toward that condition at all. You're just using it as a theoretical horizon to justify remaining still. And there is a difference between pursuing a goal and using a goal as a reason not to move. Here is the brutal architecture of how this works. The mind, when it is afraid of the present, creates an imaginary future self. This future self is everything you are not yet: braver, leaner, more successful, more loved, more certain. And unconsciously you begin treating this imaginary person as the one who is supposed to be living your life. You were just the placeholder, the stand-in, just holding things together until the real you shows up. But that person is not coming. That person has never existed. And every day you wait for them is a day that actually existed, tangible, irreplaceable, gone, handed over to a fiction. This is where it turns existential. Because time is not an abstract concept. You are made of it. Every moment is cellular. It happens in your body. You feel it in the morning when you wake up already thinking about later. You feel it on Sunday evening when the week hasn't started, but somehow the anxiety of it has already arrived. You feel it in conversations where you're physically present, but mentally rehearsing a future or replaying a past. You are not there. You are almost never actually there. And the tragedy is not that life is short. The tragedy is that you are rarely in it now. This is the part where most videos like this try to sell you on a simple fix. A morning routine, a mindset shift, 5 habits of highly present people. That's not what this is. Because the problem is not that you lack productivity hacks. The problem is that on some level you are afraid of your own life, and you have never looked directly at that fear. You've orbited it. You've medicated it, distracted from it, planned around it, but you have not sat down across from it and asked it what it actually wants. The waiting room exists because you let it. Not because you're weak, but because the alternative showing up fully, without preconditions, for the messy and unfinished and genuinely uncertain life you actually have. That takes a kind of courage that almost no one talks about. It's not the courage of dramatic moments. It's the courage of ordinary Tuesday afternoons. The courage of beginning before you're ready, of loving something before you know how it ends, of existing deliberately in a present that offers no guarantees. Here's the strange liberation hiding inside all of this. Once you accept that there is no main event coming, something shifts. The pressure to prepare indefinitely dissolves. You stop needing permission. You stop auditing yourself against a future standard that exists only in your head. And for the first time, possibly in years, you look at the life you actually have, imperfect, incomplete, uncertain, and you see it, really see it, not as a waiting room, but as the room, the only room. And it turns out, it was always enough to begin. The waiting room syndrome ends the moment you stop believing in the door, not because the future doesn't matter, but because the future is built entirely from what you do with the present. Every future moment of your life is simply a present moment you haven't reached yet, and you're either practicing presence now, or you're practicing absence. You don't get to choose only in the big moments. You choose in this one. You have been waiting long enough. The thing you're waiting for is not coming, and the life that is actually available to you, the only one that has ever been real, is happening right now, in the place you keep looking away from. Stop waiting. You were never supposed to wait. You were supposed to live.